Gentlemen, Cheeky Midweeky number 3, the team builder Cheeky Midweeky. First time we have a special guest, Pratik Patel, formerly of New York Giants. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me.
We got the usual suspects. I won't talk about Seed Mania. It was a unanimous 50-45 points decision, but we'll move on. Zachary, you want to talk about staff dynamics, so I thought we could do the good, the bad, the ugly of staff dynamics. What's in your mind, brother?
So for me, it's when you look at it, I want to know how y'all go about it and how y'all think about it, because I think it's important to understand, like, what is ethical practice, what is professional, what is not professional. And then you look at it, how as a supervisor do you go about building out a staff? 2, how do you go about organizing and instructing your staff in daily workplace with each other? And then 3, as an assistant, how do you work with the ebbs and flows between keeping it professional, understanding that it's not always going to be professional because the majority of what we do is informal. And then 3, how do you handle when people from your staff leave, and how do you go about handling that in a professional way, understanding that it's not personal? Those are different, because especially this time of the season when people are taking new jobs and doing what's best for themselves, because nobody's going to take care of yourself better than what you do. So I think that's an interesting topic, because, a lot of people like to gossip, but it's a lot like working in a sorority whorehouse around here. So it's always kind of interesting to hear kind of what people.
I mean, personally, I called Scott Judas on Twitter. I'll fuck it. I'll start the ball rolling, give everyone else a little bit of time to think. But one thing I've seen again and again that does not work is when people hire in their own image. So I think that you definitely have to have a little bit of a blend to the group. It's okay to be a hype man. Every team needs a hype man, because if you lose by 50, you don't want to come in on Monday morning and be faced with a nerd. You also need nerds to keep the lunatics in check. And I think what really is not good, Alabama, is when you hire mini clones and develop mini clones again and again, because you go too much in one direction. So I think there needs to be a little bit of balance. When it comes to managing people, because I guess I've been a boss to 4 people on this call, title-wise. I tried to give what I got when I was an intern, which was a lot of freedom to make mistakes, and it's only a mistake if you make it twice. And then also kind of very prescriptive in the desired outcome, but then give people a lot of leeway in how they get there, because 1, it's a lot better when someone's not standing over you saying, "Oh, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way." And you might actually open yourself up to the program as a whole benefiting from one of your assistants doing something better than you or in a more interesting way than you. And when it comes to assistants leaving, you got to be about it. You can fucking talk all day long about, we're a people business, we're a family, and blah, blah, blah. Personally, I like to see my family do well in life. So when they leave me to go into bigger things, I'm going to pat them on the back and pick up the pieces when they leave.
I'll add to that to say that, given that I just went through that with Kieran, my boss, he called me because he heard through the grapevine of one of our mutual colleagues that I was potentially looking at Arizona. He called me to cuss me up and down for even thinking about staying. And, piggybacking off of that and kind of the dynamics that we had at William & Mary, as bad as that situation was holistically, within our department, I thought what we did very well was everything he spoke to, which was, we were fundamentally aligned. We had different ways of going about it, and we all kind of helped balance each other out. We were allowed to fail, and, he was there to defend me when coaches wanted to come after me for, quote unquote, not doing my job. But he was also there to help me learn from it and grow from it and, make improvements for the next time. But then I think to that end as well, we had fun doing it, and it wasn't – the work we did was very intellectually driven, but we enjoyed what we did. And, we cranked up the music for Queen Bee Monday. We still get people tagging us in Fritter Friday. Like, all these cultural pieces that really transcended the basement we worked in and made it very, very enjoyable, and is why we still have kids that reach out to us, because it felt like purposeful work for them, and it felt purposeful to us. As much of an uphill battle as it constantly was, it was enjoyable because it doesn't have to be this thing where you either only have fun and yell a lot and just grind, or you are only a nerd that hides behind a screen. You can do both and be very intellectually driven, but also have fun in the process. And I think that's what, as much shit as there was, made it such a fun experience for all of us.
JJ, you just left the job. Would you care to chip in?
I think it's easier when how people's personalities are clearly how they actually are. So, like, if they're based on the principles that they actually purport to their staff and to the public, it's a much smoother transition. When you're behind the scenes, it's an ugly mess. But from the limelight, people like, that must have been an amazing experience. It gets a little bit more tricky to sort of navigate it. I think as someone leaving, it's always comforting to know you've done a good job, and to know you've done a good job. Your boss telling you you've done a good job is an important factor of that. Whereas, if they're bitching about you and bad-mouthing you and claiming everything you've done as their own and things like that, then it becomes a little bit more tricky, I'd say.
I think just today on WhatsApp, I called you a gun cunt.
You did, yes.
TVA.
Yeah, man.
Speak.
Oh, you can follow it up with the question. Working with you, it was a pretty good experience for a lot of the reasons that have already been brought up. I definitely felt I had that autonomy to go out and pursue what I wanted to do, or try to do it the best way that I thought possible, to go about pursuing it. And I also will reiterate what Scott said, that when I did end up leaving, we went out to lunch that day, and there was no resentment. You were straight up with me that you felt it was in my best interest, and that as, a colleague and a friend, you thought it would be good for me to pursue something like that and to continue to grow. And I always think that's something you want from the people you go to work for, or if you're building a staff. Zach, to your original question, I haven't had anyone work under me yet, but I've worked under a few different people. And I think you should judge the success of your department by how well you can proliferate and grow your network, so to speak, of coaches by helping place them in better situations. Okay, so I'm not going to ask TK this question because it's like when Donald Trump went around the table and everyone said how wonderful it was to work with him. So we're just going to practice.
Yeah, I'll approach this from a couple of different angles. When I was at Oregon, I was in charge of the sports nutrition department and worked really closely with performance and sports science and strength and conditioning. So it was the first time that I was in charge of hiring a staff and molding it in the vision of what the entire university and the athletic department needed from that position. So it wasn't a lot of strength and conditioning for that specific role. So the first time that I was in this leadership position, I wanted to hire people that had a similar mentality and thought process like me, which is not the right thing to do, as you just mentioned. That's the worst thing and the last thing you should fucking do, because that just leads to so many issues. So my first couple hires didn't necessarily pan out because I didn't do my due diligence in finding out what do I need to complement this staff to make sure that we're doing the best that we can with the job that we're given. So the first couple hires didn't pan out very well. I didn't do a good job as a leader and in charge of that department, overseeing fucking millions of dollars of fucking budgets. But as time passed on, I started to learn more about, all right, I need to know what my weaknesses are. I need to find somebody that complements that can keep me in check, that can also bring value to what this department needs. So we're not all the same. We're all going to have different thought processes, but I can learn from that person. They can learn from me. So that's what I ended up leaving them with when I ended up going to the Giants. And with the Giants, Aaron was our head strength coach. He did all the programming. We each had a specific role. So I was assistant working with everything: nutrition, supplementation, hydration, sleep, recovery, all that related. But we all had different personalities and we all had different things that we brought to the table to be able to complement each other, which was the best dynamic. So I'm an introvert, but I can be very extroverted around the players. But with the other fucking people in the building, I'm not really going to have a lot to say with them because that's just not my personality. But we had an assistant strength coach who he hired, who is now just got hired as the head with the Atlanta Falcons. He had a great background, very well-versed, very experienced, but he's a lot more extroverted. He has that personality to bring it out. Aaron and I kind of more along the same lines. And then we had a data manager who ended up going to Inter Miami FC, who was very smart, very sharp, but he wasn't the person who you throw out in the open and say, all right, you're going to lead a session. So I think that's really important.
Is that his name? Joe?
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of us, we complemented each other really nicely. But if we needed to take a step up and, get into that leadership role, if, Aaron's gone, then Thomas steps up. If he's gone and everybody's at the combine and I'm the last motherfucker left behind, we got 10 guys in the room, then they're more than happy to let me run the shit for the week. And then it goes in the opposite direction. I don't know how many of you have been on a staff where your head guy leaves to take another role in another position, especially when he's one of the main reasons why you came on board to work for that
when he takes a lucrative role.
Yes. So at the same time, it's like we were so happy for him, like especially me, even though we had a really good working relationship, and what we were able to accomplish and learn from each other was great. And I had an idea in my head. I'm like, he's probably not really going to be able to take me, because I probably would have went with him given what I had experienced and learned from the past 3 years. And I want to continue to do that instead of getting demoted for doing a really good job at what I was doing, which is why they kept me around. But that's another conversation. So I think it's funny when it goes both ways. Like, you're super happy for them. Same thing. I've had staff members that are still at other places that are trying to get jobs to move on. And that's the goal, because you don't want a bunch of just assistants to just stick around and be assistants unless they have a good reason to be. You want them to aspire to be greater and to continue to grow and to be able to share their knowledge with other people. Because if you're doing a good job and 95% of the fucking people in sports suck, you want somebody within your tree or somebody to take that information and do well by the field and help other people out.
I think it's like that thing, like, until they're tested, values are just verbal preferences. So it's almost like you say you value like your people going out and doing good. It's almost like when that happens, that's when you prove it's actually a value. So I mean, if we kind of like finish up with Zach, you talk about like staff and positive and negative experiences. Could you go a little bit more into that, Zach? Do you like my hoodie?
No, for me it's just interesting because thinking about it here and just different dynamics you hear. Good stories and bad stories and even horror stories from different people. For me, it's just interesting to hear like different dynamics from different places you've been and are working, especially the collegiate sector where people kind of go the route talked about, and you try to figure out like, you and me kind of talked about like Ray Dalio's principal concepts and things like that over the last 2, 3 years, whatever it's been. Jesus, I'm losing track. It's interesting to hear because you hear talk, like you just mentioned. It's I don't know if I'm hitting on a point or not. I'm trying to answer all this myself. It's interesting to kind of think about like what you brought up earlier, where it's kind of people talk about one thing and they end up talking at the side of their neck because they do 2 or 3 different things that don't align with what they say. So it's like, what are your principles? How does that match with your staff? I know it's kind of long-winded, but that's kind of where my head's going with it right now.
What is done in the dark comes out in the light. So, right. Biggest losses in your career, or the biggest disasters in your career? It can be.
I will jump in and gladly.
Was it when you and Uncle Kev got 70-piece by Arizona State?
Yes. Only time I've contemplated leaving at halftime. Last December, 70-7 to the in-state rival. Woof! It was 14-0 in the first minute.
Now, you expected to get your pants pulled down, correct?
I thought they would get up a little bit for the rivalry game, but then eventually Arizona State would blow past us because they just are out recruiting Arizona at this point.
Bro, I just feel like if you expect to get blown out, it's almost more tolerable than if like you actually have a valid, way to win the game and you just shit the bed completely.
See, I thought there was an upper limit to how far out we could get blown. It turned out that upper bound did not exist, and we just got fucking wrecked. So that was the part.
Do you mind if I share a minor detail of the story that you told me? It was we can edit this if you want, but basically you had that game. Was it Friday? It was on Friday night, right?
Yeah.
By Monday, you had the all-staff meeting where they sat you down on the indoor, spaced out on all the seats 6 feet apart. Basically gave the news that the head coach was getting fired, which meant that you were getting fired as well. And then when the meeting was over, you had to put the chairs away.
I'll correct the story to say that meeting was Saturday.
My bad.
I was on a date and had to leave the date early because I saw on the TV that the head coach was getting fired. So then, yes, have to put the chairs away after the meeting to find out we were getting fired.
Bruh. Terrence.
Worst loss. So we're playing as well as London. We're playing a cup game, and like people don't know rugby. Like in rugby, like your S&C coach is like your water boy during the game. Like you do the warm up, and that's after that you're wearing a headpiece, like relaying information from the head coach in the stands and the box to the team between where you run the tee out and run the water out between like tries and stuff like that. And we're playing a cup game, and like cup games usually you'll bring like it's usually like a second team really.
Is this the BMI Cup?
Yeah.
Who are you playing?
Ealing.
Hey.
And so we're playing this team called Ealing. Ealing's like they never win the league. They always get second. So they put their main team in for this cup game because they want to win something to slap themselves on the back and say good job. So they put their first team out. We're getting fucking pumped like the entire time, and they play on turf, and we're always on grass. We're on grass most of the time in rugby. And I ran the water out back and forth so much that we kept getting scored on. I had shin splints for 2 fucking weeks. I remember, like, at one point, I just walked it out there. And so the teacher, I was like, oh, fucking shins hurt. Like, because they put, like, we scored once. We had 7. I think they ended up putting, like, 70 or 60 or something like that on us. Like, it was a trap meet. We were getting destroyed.
That would have been we would have been on opposite teams that day if I'd have gone through that contract.
Oh, was it Ealing? Oh,
I guess we wouldn't have because you never would have interned in Tokyo if I'd have done that contract. But
yeah, sure.
Zach.
Oh wow, worst loss. It's probably more sentimental. I would say probably I was still playing at this point. It's not really an embarrassing story. But at the time I played at Marshall University. Nothing. Don't Google me. You're wasting your time. I wasn't anything special. Barely even recognizable on the roster. Anyways, we were playing. We were like number 11, 12 in the country. We were small school, Boise State type year. We were like 13-0. Our quarterback, I still think to this day, was shaving point. We lost 67-66 in a football. Yes, this is football, not basketball. I'm 5 on a good day, and I'm white, so it wasn't basketball. We lost 67-66. We were down 28-10 at 20. Excuse me, I think it was 28-7 at halftime. Put it this way: we came back and scored 59 points in the second half. Our quarterback had 6 turnovers, 4 fumbles, 2 sacks. Still think old boy was shaving points. Basically, cost us the Fiesta Bowl. We would have went to Scotty Boys. We would have played Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl, and we would have dusted the fucking cheeks off of them instead of it was a 3-loss Boise State team to a fucking 5-6 Western Kentucky team. Then the next 2 years they go on a run and ass rape the rest of the league for the next 2 years. Still the worst loss, and I'm still super bitter about it because we cost the school so much money, and the fact we ended up going 13-1, beat the other next two games, but we won by like 40, 50 points. But randomly, somehow we turned the ball over 6 times, scored 66 points, and we still lose. So still bitter about it, but by far the worst loss.
Bradford, you've enjoyed some character building times at the Giants.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 4 just because I can. The first is the 2015 national championship game lost to Ohio State after beating Florida State by 40 points. So that definitely hits the stomach. The next year, 2016 Alamo Bowl, we were up 31-0 to TCU at half, and we lose the game in double overtime. It was the largest collapse in the history of the bowl series ever. 2017, my first year with the Giants, we're 0-3. We go to the Eagles to play like we have to win this game. We're playing like shit for 3 quarters. We scored 24 points in the 4th quarter, and we F up, give the ball back to them with like 30 seconds left. They drive down the field. Their field goal kicker hits a 65-yarder as time expires, and he was signed to their team like off the street a week before that. And the season just went downhill after that. Coach gets fired 10 games in, GM's gone. I'm like, great. I'm a one and done. Now I got to find a new job. And then 2018, we're at Carolina. Really tough back and forth game. We come back to take the lead. We're up like 1 or 2 points, and then Graham Gano, who's actually with the Giants right now, kicks like a 63-yarder as time expires, and we lose the game. So those are the most gut-wrenching ones where it's like, are you fucking serious?
Everyone drinking Sappuccinos after that.
Oh, just terrible.
TVA.
I'm probably going to have to go with 2018 when I was still working with Richmond Lacrosse. It ends up being our second year back-to-back. We end up winning our conference championship, and we qualified for the NCAA tournament. The whole year was like a good year. We were rebuilding some of the parts of the program that we lost the year before. We had a lot of young kids that were able to step up and fill in a lot of those roles. And, we had to play really hard to get back to that level of success that we had. We ended up winning the conference championship, qualified for the NCAA tournament, and ended up getting blown out, I want to say 9-18 by Albany. Like, they just doubled us. And it was kind of like a big heartbreaker because we upset UNCW that year. It was just like a lot of things were going well, and then we just kind of really just got pummeled once we got to the tournament. So I'd probably say that would be the biggest loss of the career right there.
Was it your fault when they lost?
Actually, no, I wasn't there.
Yeah, but when they win, it's their fault. When you lose, it's your fault.
I guess. I mean, I ended up leaving the following year from Richmond, so it was probably my fault.
JJ.
So probably 2018. With the high school I was at. We went on a preseason tour to the London area. We played like the big schools, so like the Cranleys and the Whitgifts, cricket.
Shit gift.
Well, we went to Whitgift and we'd just beaten Cranley, and we're quite a small school, and that's, it was a big deal. So we're like, oh, take momentum into Whitgift. We get to Whitgift, we're playing 50 overs, which is one day. So if you don't know how cricket works, it's 50 overs, it's a whole day. And we bowled first, so they get through their 50 overs and they score, I don't know, like 160. We're thinking, oh, that's a reasonable score, we can chase that. We come out to bat, and then it's over in about 2 overs. And the lunchtime, which you're going to have like midday, so midway through the game you have lunch, because that's how cricket works. That was the post-game dinner, and off we go. They planned out this whole day for us, and like all this stuff, and we're gone by lunchtime.
Fucking hell, mate. It wasn't the worst loss, but doing the A-League in rugby, the worst game you can play in A-League is Exeter away, because you play the games on a Monday, and it's all team binges, guys. So you have to be back on Tuesday to hold the pads for the good guys. So you would train on Monday. It would be like a 7 or 8 o'clock kickoff. So what's that? It's like a 4 or 5 hour bus journey. So you trained all day. You go 4 or 5 hour bus journey to Exeter. Get your pants pulled down. And you have to get 4 or 5 hours back. Get off the bus at 2 a.m. and then be at work the next morning to not play again. I mean, for me, worst loss. It's probably the most embarrassing loss, because I just started with Argentina, and all the fucking usual social media. Hashtag they got a good one. I'm writing an article about that, about how most of the time they did not get a good one, but all that bullshit. And I can remember it. The first game we had was South Africa away in Soweto, and the boys lost. See, look, the boys, not me. We lost 70 points to 13. I believe it was a record loss in international rugby for Argentina. And of course, I've told everyone, I'm working in international rugby now. And as you know, the results that your team get is a direct reflection of your ability to coach. Right, I'm going to get this one into bed. So, yeah, go buy Team Builder. That was the sponsorship message. Pratic. Plug your shit, baby.
Oh, you want me to plug my website and Gumroad courses? Well, fuck, I've been lagging on those. I don't have those uploaded yet. But I'm working with a lot of athletes remotely, even actually some coaches too, just getting their shit together, getting their health in order. That's one thing strength coaches don't do a very good job of. So everybody can just hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, especially 35-year-olds who aren't as fit as they think they are. So yeah, Twitter and Instagram, it's at Pratik X Patel.
Because Zach's only like 26, right?
Babies, so young.
He had an uphill paper out in West Virginia. All right, those opioids be hitting.
we'll just sort of count that to my my last couple stops professionally that did that to the stress.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Where the SRA curve is climbing an upward tick, just slowly but surely.
The earth is healing. I can see your hairline growing back. Pratik, what's your website?
Not set up yet, but just hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. I'll do more than enough on that. It's at Pratik X Patel, PRATIKXPATEL for both of them.
Right, you got to step into my office. I'm going to help you out with this.